from that point, I'll never forget, man. I went to a prison in 2008 and saw the wave of how.
Oh, you seen the hit?
I
take over like Corona.
Yeah, I'll never forget, man. I was walking around the yard with one of my partners, man, and you know, we out there smoking away, whatever, and I just noticed that.
You could smoke back there in the prison?
Keep it real, man. You know, oh yeah, you can smoke cigarettes, but you know, that ain't what we're talking about. That's all.
Okay, yeah.
But you know, I just remember walking around the yard and just feeling, you know, what I mean, the tension and the division. And when I looked up and just, you know, peeped everything, you got Crips over here, you got the Bloods over here, you got the Muslims back here, you got GDs over here. And I was telling my partner, I was like, man, what the hell going on?
It happened overnight.
To me, it felt like it happened overnight because I stayed in one prison for 9 years.
Okay.
You know, so I wasn't able, you know, I probably heard about it, but to actually see, you know, the way.
Because that wasn't going on in that prison you was in.
Yeah.
What prison you came from, and then what prison you went to? What prison you was did 9 years at?
I did 9 years at Macon State prison.
In Macon.
Yeah, it's in Overthorpe.
And then you went where?
I went to Valdosta State Prison.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is now coming closer to the city.
Coming closer to the south.
Okay.
Yeah, Valdosta is like, you know, at the bottom of the
map.
Yeah.
Close to Florida then.
It's funny you say that, right? Because we had a young dude in here, man. It's a friend of mine. You know what I'm saying? He's from Atlanta, he's from like Cleveland Avenue, Jonesboro. I don't want to get it wrong, but he's from one of the Jonesboroughs. I want to say
South,
South
3.
He's from the north.
From Jonesboro.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But now, you know, Cleveland area, active, you know what I'm saying? And he's an artist, you know what I'm saying? He go by Lil Dab. And we had him up here a couple weeks ago. Oh yeah, he fired. You know what I'm saying? He fired. But and he really got a message in his music, but he's with the times, you know what I'm saying? Like he came up with the Young Thugs and Lil Keys, like right up under them, like seen him at the bottom days, you know what I'm saying? When they were trying to rap in little home studios and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? He seen the whole QC come up, but you know what I'm saying? He really just an authentic cat, you know what I'm saying? And he, as long as I knew him before he came up here, he was an active member in the situation, you know what I'm saying? He rep, you know what I'm saying? Just kept it solid and he moved like a leader. So whatever he do, people kind of gravitate and follow to. He got that gift, you know what I'm saying? But he had came up here and told us, remember he told us that you know, he's starting to wake up. You know what I'm saying? He's about my age, but you know what I'm saying? He's starting to wake up on different things, and he was saying that, you know, growing up, like he a real Grady baby. He like, man, growing up, gangs was not in Atlanta, and he was like, that shit really don't even belong here. You know what I'm saying? He's like, that's not our shit. You know what I'm saying? He's like, it's crazy how it done came now. You know what I'm saying? Brothers beefing with cousins, and you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, people choosing the gang over their family and just a whole disarray. And he's like, you know, that's not what we came up under. You know what I'm saying?
But not to cut you off, but back to what you were saying, and that was what the dad was saying. It cultivated through the music.
He said it came like a virus.
Like you said, you was like, when you spoke earlier, you was talking about how kind of the music kind of influenced you. Not to commit the act, but just was in your mind.
Yeah.
That's why he was saying that the gangs didn't belong here. When I moved here in 1996, which was after the Olympics, I got here in September after Pop died. I moved because I thought the world was about to end. I was like, well, shit, let me just go somewhere. But when I got here, the people who would greet me in Atlanta, they would say, what up, folk? That was how they spoke to you in Georgia. I thought everybody was GD. I'm from Chicago. So I'm like, damn, all the GDs that goddamn moved to Atlanta. But it was just a term of endearment. It was like saying, hi, my brother. You know what I mean? But I think with the rap music, you know what I mean? I don't want to pin the tail on no particular artist, but they started.
I mean, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I done seen that as younger than y'all. You know what I'm saying? When Lil Wayne was saying he was with Birdman, Birdman got the 5-star tattoo on his head, everybody was bloody.
Yeah.
When Nipsey died, I swear everybody was neighborhood.
See?
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's definitely be an influence in the music, but yeah, so basically, back to my question, you know what I'm saying? You didn't really have to fall victim or, you know what I'm saying? You don't seem like a follower anyway, so you didn't have to succumb to any of that by you saying, like, you ain't succumbing to nobody else's thoughts or how, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He gonna get through it or how, you know what I'm saying? You just Kept the
Not,
soul
not,
all the
that,
way out.
not that I pay attention.
Of
You know,
course.
yeah, I paid attention, you know what I mean? And some moves I followed and some I didn't.
Yeah.
If it was right for me and I, you know, like, you know, I got that guidance that come from God and it coincide, then you know, that's what it is. But as far as just,
So you interacted with people from multiple sides, or you didn't deal with none of them?
man, you know what, man, and I think people would say this about me, people who were in there with me, and I don't heard people say, man, Byrd kick it with everybody.
That's dope.
You know what I mean? Man, I got, you know, real partners from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
How you build those relationships? Because, you know, in prison, in jail, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times people be a little standoffish, or, you know, of course it ain't a friendly zone. Like, you ain't, you know what I'm saying? Like, of course you gotta do your examination through a motherfucker before you even take him into anything, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, how was it building relationships in there? Because it sounds like you got a lot of partners, you know what I'm saying, who you was in there with, who may still be in there. You know what I'm saying? How did, for those at home, you know what I'm saying, how do you build a solid relationship while being in those situations? Of course, y'all got things in common, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah, how do you build a relationship while being in there? Because of course you can't just come up like, hey, what's up? You know what I'm saying? I'm Gamble, and you know what I'm saying, I just got here, like, you know what I'm saying?
But you got people to do it.
Yeah,
You got people to do it.
and bad
think
day,
aura-
that's vulnerable.
I think aura has a lot to play with it. Your aura as an individual.
I would say this, and it's not as cut and dry, or I mean, it's not as, you know, as cut and dry as people would like to accept it, but being real
And respect, right? Go a long way in there.
you know, being real and, you know, not only obtaining respect, but also giving respect, it's gonna put you in front of the people or put you side by side with the people that need to be side by side with you or need to be, you know, in front of your face or who you, you know what I mean, you're supposed to kick it with.
And the savages gonna be with the savages. And
Yeah, anybody who you know, tries to pick, you know what I mean, who they kick it with and how they kick it with them, you know what I mean, you're gonna come to some problems. But when it's natural and it's organic, you know what I mean, I don't, you know what I mean, it is what it is.
Cause like coming up, like, you know what I'm saying, I ain't never went to prison, but just being in jail, like, you know what I'm saying, the only people I'm really kicking it with is if he's straight, you know what I'm saying, like my cellmate, you know what I'm saying, whoever they got me in there with for 23 hours, you know what I'm saying, obviously y'all politic back and forth, and if it click, you know what I'm saying, if it don't, it's like, man, get this nigga fuck away from me, you know what I'm saying?
But you know, like when you in the county, it's more of a who know who. Like when you in the county jail,
See,
like
but it's
niggas know
different
you-
for me. I'm not from down here. So
No,
I don't
right.
I don't know nobody.
I mean,
You know what I'm
that's
And
what
I'm
the
coming in,
difference is.
I'm coming in on my bullshit, you know what I'm saying? Not, you know what I'm saying? Because I learned it the same way. Like I said, my pops did 15. Like, I'm knowing this all a respect thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm knowing that somebody try me, you know what I'm saying? This got to get dealt with. This ain't nothing. Can we talk about this real quick?
Right.
It ain't that.
You
You know what
can't
I'm
be a
saying?
free pick in that.
Yeah, you got to deal with that accordingly. But, you know what I'm saying? Just the way I'm carrying myself, like, down here, you know what I'm saying? Folks wanna, oh, you know what I'm saying? The way you standing, you know what I'm saying? You look like you GD, you know what I'm saying? The way your beard is, you know what I'm saying? You Muslim, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I ain't none of that, bro. I'm not even from down here.
Where you from?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
I ain't from down here. See, where I'm from, it's street gangs. So all that color shit don't even exist where I'm from. So where you from, you gotta say
Your blocks.
exactly, and they gonna deal with you accordingly. Oh, this street got smoked with that street. You know what I'm saying? It's active like that. But down here, it's like a free fall. So it's like I'm coming down here. I don't know none of y'all. I ain't trying to make friends with y'all. I got allies on the out, but I ain't here to be name dropping and be like, yeah, you know, Lil Dab, he's on Cleveland Ave. That's a friend of mine. Like, nah, I ain't here to do none of that. I'm just carrying myself like I'm ready to get about my situation.
Right. But see, even being in that situation, they don't know how to try you. Like when they do those things and say those things,
They sizing you up.
yeah, they trying to pick. Then that's why I said, even me being from Chicago, I never went to prison in Chicago, which I was grateful because it's a whole different gang culture. When I went to prison in Atlanta, it was the Savannah niggas versus the Atlanta niggas.
Really?
And I was like, bro, I'm from Chicago. I ain't from Savannah. I ain't from Valdosta. I'm not from none of this shit. But I couldn't understand how Savannah niggas and Atlanta niggas didn't like each other. So it went from that to what you was kind of saying. Then it turned into a gun culture
Well,
where
they probably chumping them off, right?
Well, you know what?
Niggas who's from the city, like man, I'm from the city.
And when P just said that, I just thought about it. You know, gangs weren't prevalent in the prison system back then, but geographic, you know, your whereabouts, where you from, that
hell
meant
wait.
everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what paired a lot of people together. That's what I mean, not paired people together, but that's how people got cool. That's how they cultivated.
Makes sense because
relationships.
people who from the city feel like man, they the juice. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
Opposed to
listen,
people on the
man,
outskirts.
I'm gonna tell
Because
you.
even how it happened now in the city, right? Like somebody, you got people who be like, I'm from Atlanta, and you got folks like, nah, I'm from real Atlanta. Like you said, man, I'm from Campbellton Road. You know what I'm saying? Cleveland Avenue. I'm from, you know what I'm saying?
Canterville, Summerhill.
Even if you from East Atlanta or Decatur, they're gonna let you slide. But if it's East Atlanta, if it's Atlanta versus the east side of Atlanta, they got a feud or together. But then when it comes to people who's like, I'm from Gwinnett County,
Douglasville,
these folks right here, Atlanta, East Atlanta, like you ain't even from Atlanta.
Like, you ain't from the city, huh?
You ain't even from a zone. You know what I'm saying?
So that I forgot about that part of the game.
Oh
And,
yeah.
you know, in transition, and nothing is say, man, it about nothing is new under the sun.
Right.
You know, it just got a different appeal to it, a different look to it, but it's still the same thing. And even though gangs weren't prevalent back then, it's almost like
sets or
you know what I mean, because it everything was so separated. It was like Atlanta against everybody. Savannah, Valdosta, Albany, you know what I mean?
they look at them folks, you know what I'm saying? They call them country, right?
Right. You know what I mean? But
because you ain't from the city, you didn't see them when they did the Olympics.
whatever the beef was, it's gonna always be something, but it's heightened
because they got a whole
when it's a difference in the geographic.
And I'm gonna add on to this. Now, when it comes to blacks,
I was just about
take
to
the
say.
gangs out of it. Because when I was in prison, you did have some area nations and some real, Mexican mafias.
Every
Now,
time.
I can tell you that I got along with the Españols. The Mexicans, they were cool. You know what I'm saying?
They know how to cook too.
Oh, they know. Oh man, them niggas make all type of shit. Now, I ain't gonna lie.
Real.
Yeah. But that was something that when black people would come together, like the gangs didn't matter then.
Yeah.
If you had some white folks on some racist shit, it was a few times where the brothers, when they would open up the pies and we'd be able to play this as in prison, they'd run in the other motherfucking building and just take what they wanted from the white folks. Like the black people, we would like they ran the prison when it came to that. Like the white folks didn't want no smoke. Like I seen a whole bunch of white people tap out if the majority of the people in the pod were black. They didn't want to be there.
See, I was just about to ask them that, you know what I'm saying? Because, for the people at home, a lot of people ain't been, you know what I'm saying, in these scenarios. What did you see a lot of that? You know what I'm saying? Because you was in there for 21 years. So, you know what I'm saying? There's times when it's gone down on the outside. There's times when it's been heightened. There's times when it's gone down. There's times when it's been heightened. Right now, 2020, obviously, we're in a heightened race situation. You know what I'm saying? For what's going on. Did you see a lot of that going on? Or
I did.
was you able to coexist and kick it with any white people or Mexicans while in there? Because you said Byrd get along with everybody.
Yeah, and I pride myself on that.
That's
man.
dope, bro.
It took a while, to be able to get to that point, but it don't take away from the fact that is real.
Right.
That situation is real, man.
Right.
This white person has clearly expressed some form of racism
Right.
in the midst of, 3,000, African Americans. Hey man, you're gonna be held accountable, man.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So I saw it, and like you said, it was white gangs, and you got,
Definitely.
AB, and they
When they come in there, if they ain't no squares, they come in
They
there
got
with
it
all them
tatted on.
tattoos and
Yeah,
shit.
they not running from it. You know
You
what
know
I
what I'm
mean?
saying? Well, I think that's really dope, Byrd. No bullshit, man. I'm gonna give you your props for real, like, cause I'm big. I had a session up here where I just talked about being diplomatic, and I feel like you definitely exemplify that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's something I'm trying to preach to younger people, older people, or people who don't even know what that term is. Like, you know what I'm saying? A lot of us box ourselves in. Like, you gotta know how to deal with everybody in every situation. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's was taking you far and is gonna take you far because, like I said, like, you know what I'm saying? You don't give up. Clearly, you know what you're talking about from this interview. You know what I'm saying? Clearly, you know what you're talking about from your experiences. You know what I'm saying? But you don't give off the vibe like you institutionalized. You know what I'm saying? But of course, you know what I'm saying? You don't give off the vibe like, you know, sucker. Like, you know what I'm saying? You very, you know what I'm saying? Got the full package and diplomatic where it's like, I feel like even with being a felon or whatever, you know what I'm saying, your prior charges was or whatever you've been through, I feel like being beat up by, you know what I'm saying, correctional officers or whatever, I still feel like we could throw you in any room and you'd be able to handle yourself, have a conversation, and you know what I'm saying, leave everybody with some news that they could use, and that's dope, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's dope, bro. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this. You know, seeing that you went in at such a young age, and you've come out still looking probably as young as you did when you went in.
I don't know about that.
I'm telling you, I mean, I would have to see the picture because bro, you look young as shit. What about like some mentorship? You know, maybe speaking with the youth, is that something that you may wanted to get into, or maybe even see if they would allow you to go back to the prison cells and speak to some of the juveniles and share your experience in hopes that if you could save one life, that could be the brain that could spark 1,000 lives?
I'm gonna tell you something, man. You know, my reasoning for being out here is strictly the grace of God. You know what I mean? It's people still in there right now that did way less than I did. You know what I mean? So I obtained this sense of purpose, you know, like in the latter years before I was released. I was seeing young guys coming in there. I know what I went through in 21 years, and sentencing has changed. You know what I mean? The punishment for what you're doing has changed. Is way beyond
Worse.
It's worse. I went to prison with a life sentence, man, and it was my understanding that I have to serve 14 years before I come up for parole, and it's at the parole board's discretion.
Hold on. So you was on a sentence.
And that's what I want to ask. Let me ask you this. And I swear to God, you was reading my mind. I think you're Sagittarius like me.
I am.
That's what the fuck going on. November 27th, nigga. We early bird. Hey, listen, we gonna do something for our birthday, bro. I got some shit popping.
Hey, man.
Now, I wanted to ask you about that. When they give you, or when they say a life sentence, and you said eligible for parole after 14 years, that would have made you close to around 30, maybe 31.
It would have made me 31.
Okay. So did you go up for parole?
I did.
How many times?
I was denied parole 6 times.
That's fucked up.
What the fuck?
See, that's what I wanted
I
to
was
ask
just about to ask you how 14 turned into 21.
I was
That gotta fuck with your mental, cause after, you know what I'm saying, you just coaching yourself through trying to get.
But they got certain stipulations and requirements. Like they look at, you know, how many times you done had DRs or how many times you
all
been
of that. All that goes into play, and you know they'll tell you quick. Parole is a privilege.
That shit's not a right.
It's not a right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they put that number out there, and you know, over time, the crime of youth increased. So they increased the time. Now, if you sentence to a life sentence, you have to serve 30 years before you consider for parole.
So with you going up for parole, you know, and I know what's going on, and that's why I can't wait to do the show tomorrow. And I'm gonna definitely let the media know about you. What are the qualifications? Even though I know that they say that it's a privilege, I know the media was saying like if you talk about having mental health issues, that's one thing you should never do. If you got to talk to some motherfucker about it, do not talk to them goddamn nurses and doctors up in that bitch, because then they say you mental health. So no, this nigga can't even get that in society. If your ass don't try to go get your GED, nigga, or go goddamn try to take a class. If you just hanging out in the pod with your partners, y'all slapping spades, they don't grant you parole. But what was that part of the reason why
You became part of the business at that point?
Yes, I swear to God, and that's why I was asking. I wanted to intervene to ask him about the parole process because he started his bid as a child. So you would have thought, okay, he's learned his lesson. he can become a positive citizen in society.
Right.
But he said it took 6 fucking times, and even one of the listeners said, "Wow, 6 times." What were some of the things? Not to say whether it was validated or not validated, but what were some of the things that they said
held you back
from being able to be paroled?
Well, it like you said, your DR history is, your disciplinary history is definitely, it plays a part. The crime that you commit, they won't tell you that that's the reason, but a lot of times that plays a major part.
So they treat you like you was in the courtroom again for the first time.
Well,
They
not
look back
necessarily,
at the
because when you come up for parole, a lot of people think that you actually sit in front of a board.
Right.
But in Georgia, that's not the case.
Okay.
The only thing that happens is your file, what they've accumulated on paper,
Goes to somebody's desk.
goes to somebody's.
So they don't get to physically see you.
You got 5, I think it's 5 board members, and all of them get a copy of your file. And you have to have 3. I think it's 3 out of the 5 to, be considered. For you to make parole.
And to me, I think that's some real sucker shit, because at that point, and they understand the institutional facility that a motherfucker's in. There's really 1% chance that you're gonna do 20 fucking years without no DR. It ain't finna happen, bro.
Right.
I mean, nigga finna run in there trying to snatch something, they gonna try to take something. It's impossible unless your ass on the 3rd floor where they giving you medicine in them big ass rooms with no windows.
Right.
Then you're going to have some type of altercation. So to me, that's just like a catch-22.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when I'm listening to you, I'm also was thinking where it would be a board like they show you on the movies and the shows, where you can actually speak on your own behalf, and they can see how much of an intelligent young man that you are, and how you've grown past what your sentence was. And you said that ain't the case. They just really still looking at some piece of paper.
They looking at the paper, man. I had the privilege of understanding that, that it's work to be done. There's a curriculum that goes along, what they call a case plan, goes along with every inmate from the time you step in Jackson to the time you get to your first prison. And they recommend for you to follow this curriculum. It's, self-help classes, cognitive thinking classes.
Good job, dude.
Stuff
So
like,
you gotta build up.
have a work detail that you've been consistent on. Just show that.
So it's like getting a liquor license, or putting the little pieces together.
You got to put together. I like to think you have to put together a body of work. So when the time does come that you come up for parole, that you got something to present. Okay. I'll never forget one of my last parole interview. They do interview you before you actually come up for parole. They'll send an agent down to the a parole agent to the prison and interview you. Just as I think they try to get a feel of
who they're dealing with.
Now, do you think they're reporting back to the actual people?
Definitely.
Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Definitely. So you can't just be in there just doing nothing.
This is
that's the guy who's not gonna get out. The guy who's just in there, like I'm saying, you can't just be in there going.
You mean
waking up and going to sleep and just saying that's that. Like you got to put that shit together, man, if you want to come home.
This is and I just lived it, man. It's very rare I seen somebody with a life sentence just wake up one day, go to sleep and wake up every day, and then just all of a sudden be granted parole.
Yeah, like you said, the dude who just plays spades all day, he gonna have a hard time in front of that parole board if he ain't got nothing on his portfolio.
Right. So you really almost end up doing your whole time then.
Well, being sentenced to life means life.
Mean you don't never get out.
Mean you don't never get out.
So what's
parole is a privilege. You just have the eligibility. I just so happen to be sentenced to life with the eligibility of parole.
Goodness.
So what's the mind state? What's the mentality once you get to year 13, 14 and you like, I'm here? Like, do you start developing some anxiety, like trying to work your move?
Definitely. and I was so fortunate to know people and have people put their game up under me before I even got to that point, to before I even got to 13 or 14 years, to start now, you know what I mean, creating a portfolio for yourself. So once I started doing that, you know what I mean, it put me in a position to expect my freedom.
Right.
Yeah, they expect it. It's just a matter of
Like,
time.
yeah, ready
now.
for an interview.
I'm
rather
going
than-
home, you know what I mean? I got to do this work though before
You
I
made
get
it so like they can't tell you built it up so it's like they can't tell me no. If they tell me no, something's flawed in this whole system because I built myself up. I got
to understand that the system ain't always, you know, the system is almost always flawed. And so it was times where I felt like I went through a span, especially those last 3 parole set off. I felt like, man, I had lined that thing up perfect.
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't have any PRs. I was, you know what I mean, spiritually, I was, you know what I mean, I was seeking God, and God was sharing with me and preparing me for this. But in front of the, once my, parole pack got in front of the board, it ain't equating to freedom.
Right.
And I didn't understand. So every time it was time for me to come up,
It really
You
makes
know,
you want
it's
to
a-
nut up, maybe.
not nut up, but the anxiety, I felt that anxiety for real. You know what I mean? Because, like my mom, she's she's one of them people that, feel like there's a system, there's a way to follow, and, you
Right.
follow that, and everything.
I was just about to ask you that because P, I think this is deep. We gotta cover all this today. You know what I'm saying? I think this is gonna go a little later than our usual show, if that's all right with you. But I got 2 more questions before we take a break and get into some music for the listeners.
Gotcha.
And you just hit on it, and you said in the beginning that your family, you know what I'm saying, very religious.
They expect you.
How did this, you know what I'm saying? Because you didn't leave as a man, like you was a young man, you know what I'm saying? But you didn't leave like after college or after high school and that shit like this, you know what I'm saying? They didn't get to really see you develop and become the person that you was 14 years later, you know what I'm saying, 21 years later. How did you being incarcerated, and you said you wasn't numb, you was very conscious, how did it affect your relationship with family members? You got younger siblings?
Yes, I do. I got 2 younger brothers and a younger sister.
So how did, with life not stopping on the outside, your parents getting older, you know what I'm saying, you got both parents, how did it affect your relationship with them? Did they kind of ride it out with you? Was it times when it went quiet and dark? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did it affect your relationships with people that you was with on the outside? Did you lose friends? Like, are you friends with anybody that you was?
Man, I'm gonna tell you something, man. My mama and my daddy, man, when I went through this, they made sure when it came to family that I was equipped with everything that I needed, from visits, to, commissary. It's almost like they trained my brothers and sisters, you know what I mean, to
look out and
to look out.
understand, right? To have that empathy and that sympathy.
And they did it, you know what I mean? They
Because
did
why?
it.
You're right, because how old are your brothers and sisters now?
Well, I have a 38-year-old sister. My brother is 36. And my younger brother is 31.
So did they have any kids after you were incarcerated, or those were already?
My sister ended up having a son in like 2008. My little nephew Justin, he's 12 now.
Wow.
It was, I mean, it's almost like we were separated, but it's almost like we wasn't.
They rolled with you.
They rolled.
That's
You know what I mean? I'm talking about.
And was you the only one in your family to ever be incarcerated? Or?
I wasn't.
Okay.
I wasn't.
For the longest stretch, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't. I had a cousin that was incarcerated before I went in. He got knocked in the late 80s, and he did 21 years. For murder and served a life sentence. And so our family, we ride. You know what I mean? We ride. Do we have differences? Definitely. You know what I mean?
That's-
There's some
that's-
discrepancies. Definitely.
That's dope, cause you say your pops is a pastor, right?
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying, like, that could go either way if you have a weak family, but clearly yours is riding, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, some people might be ashamed or, you know what I'm saying, not want to get back up there at the church and say, you know what I'm saying, like, admit to, you know what I'm saying, hey, my son going through, you know what I'm saying,
That was
something real
right
right now.
That was that's what
That's where it come in, and it sustain everything else.
That's
man.
dope.
You know, the opinions of others and everything.
Now-
So
Now,
they
I
go
want
with
to
you all
ask
the
you
way
this
out.
before I forgot, because I be getting old that part. So when they say life with their daddy's believe in parole, which is what you receive, are you on paper for the rest of your life?
From my understanding, that's my status. But I do have,
Give them some news they can use.
you do have, and get this right, because I discussed it with my parole officer, because that's one of my main concerns.
Right.
Like, I want my rights back. You know what I mean? To a lot of things, and being on parole for life will hinder you from that. You know what I mean? So I asked her, and she was like, you know, it means you're on parole for life, but there are situations where after a certain amount of time where, you know what I mean, you can appeal to the governor. And, you know, with recommendations from me as being, you know, your parole officer, you know, recommendations from people in your community, you know, you have to put in some kind of work, you know, in the community. All that helps. And you can plead to the governor, you know, for, you know, a pardon, to pardon that. But it's you know, the stamp is on now. You know, until you deal with it. You know what I mean? If you got the patience and, you know what I mean, you got the tenacity, you know, to do the right thing and make sure everything lined up. So when you go before this governor or you go before this supervisor at the parole board, you know, you lined up, you know what I mean, to obtain that part.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So what, before we get into some music, man, tell me, you touched on it a little bit, you know what I'm saying, on what kept you sane and what kept you going, but what really kept you motivated to, you know what I'm saying, just keep your stride, you know what I'm saying, day by day and to get to the finish line, like, you know what I'm saying, even with getting rejected by the parole board, which you said 6 times, what kept that engine going, you know what I'm saying, because the family sound like that could be a lot of it, you know what I'm saying, you know, nobody left you hanging.
Big part of it.
What kept you motivated, you know what I'm saying, kept the engine running for you?
I think, you know, along with family and, you know, friends, I think purpose, you know, kept me motivated. You know, God gave me a purpose. Like Pete was saying, he was asking me, have I ever thought about, you know, mentorship? You know, I feel like what I went through and what I, you know, that journey, that path that I took, you know, I don't want to see no other young man, no other family go through that. And you don't have to. You know what I mean? And I wanted to make it my business.
What you mean by that? They don't have to.
You don't have to. I
Make
think
better decisions or
better decisions. It's all about choices, man. You know what I mean? And for me, when you know, really get down to the root of it and you weigh it out, the pros and cons, you know what I mean? If you can live with your decisions, you know, all in a nutshell, that's what makes it a decision. You know, I don't feel like anybody have to go through that. You know what I mean? You make the right decision,
right.
and everybody ain't gonna make the right decision. And sometimes it come out how it came out in my life.
Maybe they could listen, you know what I'm saying, and hear that.
And
You did, you know what I'm saying, like you said in the beginning, like Jay-Z, he had a famous line, he said, Hov went through that, so hopefully you don't gotta go through that.
Hopefully you ain't got to go through that. Man, listen, it just listening to, you know, people who have already, your parents.
Whoever
You know what I
touched
mean?
the stove.
Yeah, man, it's
Been
hot.
burnt.
I done been burnt. You know what I mean? If I would have just listened to my parents or listened to, you know, the mentors, the men that were, you know, in my family that were trying to help me, you know what I mean? That would have. I don't want to see no other young man go through that, and they don't have to. You know what I mean? And I believe I went through what I went through to convey,
And hopefully save.
you know what I mean? I can't save you, but I can
Yeah,
share, you know what I mean? I can share my testimony and you know, how I overcame and you know, how God brought me out,
Right.
you know,
So
and,
you know
and
you was
bring
doing
some
this for
awareness, man,
So
to
you was
not only,
doing this for a bigger purpose.
right, you know what I mean? I think purpose, that's what it was
Kept
for
you
me.
motivated.
That's what kept me motivated, knowing that I had a responsibility to not just sit on whatever I went through, but to share what I went through and help somebody, man, help a parent. Because I'm not just, you know, trying to help the child or that young man or that young lady. It's the parents too, man. I think, you know, a lot of what I went through, you know, my parents weren't aware legally, you know what I mean?
How to save you.
Yeah,
Or what tools.
or what to do, because, you know, like, when you get locked up as a child, you know what I mean, them detectives, man,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, they got that thing straight. They don't went to school for this thing, man. Like, you be watching 48, you know what I mean, 48 hours,
First 48.
First 48,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And you see them folks in them interrogation rooms, and it's just a matter of you saying one thing that can,
You know you fucked up, don't you?
Right.
it's over with for you.
Yeah.
But as a parent, for you to know your rights and know what they can do and what they can ask your child, and you know,
You ain't lying about that. 'Cause
Yeah,
when I was younger, I got into certain situations where, you know, because they, like you said, they went to school and they look at it like you're already oppressed in the community. Detectives used to come to my house and, you know what I'm saying, not only try to game me, but game my mother, you know what I'm saying? And once they got her out the way, she's dead meat. You know what I'm
We got
saying?
him
Then they
now.
worked it onto you.
Mhm.
And then that's how they putting it all together. Like, nigga, well, mom said, you know what I'm saying?
I think I forgot the name of the movie that just aired some months ago with the guys up in New York that that were accused of the five.
Yeah.
Man, that was something to watch, man, because you know, a lot of parents fall victim to that. If those parents were you know, educated and, you know, aware of their
How the
rights,
criminal justice system works.
there's no way them kids would have, you
The
know,
railroad like that.
railroaded like that.
Mhm.
So I, you know, for me, it starts right there, you know, with, you know, enlightening the youth and enlightening parents too. And that's something that, you know, I'm passionate about, you know what I mean? But it's a process.
Right.
And you know what I mean? This right here, you know, this is a blessing because this is probably one of the first platforms besides my own, you know, documentary that I'm trying to put out.
Oh, no, you gonna put it out. You ain't trying. You putting it out. It's
Yeah,
part of
I'm putting it out. You know,
Yeah.
it's a process. I'm working on it, man, and it just so happens to be called Fresh Out. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So,
Fresh out.
and you know, there's so many outlets and so many different platforms, man. I you know, the first time we talked about the potential of this happening,
Right.
you know, I gave thanks because, you know, I was looking for a platform because at that time the pandemic had set in place. There wasn't no schools to go to. Kids ain't in school.
Right.
So besides the personal kids that you were dealing with, you know what I mean, it's really limited to who you can reach.
Yeah.
And so, you know, being here tonight, man, this amazing.
Well, it's definitely a pleasure to have you. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad you came to share. Because, again, like, you know what I'm saying? And not that everybody look like it, but, you know what I'm saying? Like, because when they look like they've been through 21 years of hell, it shit don't look good anyway. You know what I'm saying? And, like, you know, I'm glad we able to dig deeper on this because on the surface, Byrd, you know what I'm saying? Besides you telling somebody this, you know what I'm saying? Like, or them knowing you personally, they can't see it. And, you know what I'm saying? They might just walk by you knowing that you're a bag full of jewelry. You know what I'm saying? Knowing you a bag full of jewels and news that they could use, somebody might walk by or neglect what you're saying, you know what I'm saying, until we really, you know what I'm saying, peel back the layers on that onion and let them know how real this is, and you know what I'm saying, that you got a story to tell. So we're going to jump into some music. Again, definitely a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, because when you brought him and I seen the cameraman, I'm waiting on the dude with just got out of prison. I'm like, what did he do there? You know what I'm saying? I actually thought it was a
Oh,
cameraman.
we don't do that.
I actually thought it was a cameraman, but I'm like, nah, that couldn't be the dude because he holding the camera. I know they ain't talk videography and photography and that. So I'm looking around the corner.
And I knew you was gonna have that effect, and I knew the viewers at home was, and that's why it's time to shed some light. You know what I'm saying? Like different things come in different, you know what I'm saying, shapes, sizes, and forms. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying, this brother really got some news that y'all could use. You know what I'm saying? He really got a story to tell, and you know what I'm saying. This is just the beginning for him, but we had to crack it and break the record here.
21 years, man.
Shaking Smoothest Radio, and yeah, you know, it's amazing. It's amazing what life could bring and what happens in life, and you know what I'm saying. When we come back, we're gonna give a message to the youth. You know what I'm saying, who glorify this lifestyle or think that, you know what I'm saying. Me and him were talking before, like, you know what I'm saying, running around with a Draco or you know what I'm saying, gunning down the ops or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying, whatever y'all new religion teaching y'all, whatever y'all believe in. You know what I'm saying, that damn sure ain't about no money. You know what I'm saying, or even if it is. How much money could buy you back 21 years?
Right.
21 Savage can't buy back 21 years.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And he having the bag. So it's like, we're going to give some more game along that, along with, you know, what Byrd's life is like post-life. You know what I'm saying? We kind of dug in and brought y'all into the prison. You know what I'm saying? And now we're going to talk about what it's like when, you know, my man stepped outside the doors and, you know what I'm saying, what's the feelings and emotions that trickled in and what's some of the first things you want to jump into, like, you know what I'm saying? Because you went in as a kid, so like adult shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're having fun, you know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't even really get to do it, you know what I'm saying?
It's definitely been crazy.
Yeah, so we're gonna
get a movie now.
We're gonna get into that part of the movie in just a bit, man.
And for everybody that's tuning in, I'm going to cut Jackpot off. We're going to stop this podcast, so we're going to have a 3-part. Part 1, this is the second part, and the third part. So y'all tune in because if I keep running it, it's going to shut me down anyway. So y'all tune back in. We're just going to play some music. Y'all can also tune in on ARS90.com. The Checkers and Movie Show, Jackpot Gamble.
Byrd Da Barber, P. Weezy, we in the building. Y'all stay tuned, stay tapped in. We got more news you can use coming up in just a bit. Good shit, my man.
Good shit.
Oh, shit. That was heavy.
Hey, but you know what? I ain't gonna lie. I had that question that I asked. I just had to, because they like